30 tomorrow, which means this is my final day in my 20s, and so much has changed in the last decade. They say that the 20s are the defining decade of a person's life. So many important changes happened in the last decade. In my 20s, a single year could feel like 5 years in growth. I started off my 20s so bright and hopeful for the potential goodness in the world. And somewhere along the way, I found myself paralyzed by all that went wrong. The friendships that breached my trust, the relationships that fell apart, the pandemic, the economy, the realization that not everyone's intentions are pure. I don't know about you, but there was a lot of uncertainty in my 20s. It was a very insecure phase in my life, even if I didn't know it at the time. Where would my life go? Would I become a dermatologist? Would I marry the boy I thought I would? Would I ever find friends who accepted me? Would I ever be able to just be a good doctor without having to strategize on how to survive the politics of medicine? Don't get me wrong, it wasn't all bad. In fact, most of it was better than I thought it would be. Yes, those questions filled my head at night and brought with them a sense of anxiety and paralysis. But I always found that in time, most of the questions would be answered. Not all at once, and certainly not necessarily the answers I wanted, but sometimes the answer would come when I least expected it and was even better than I could have imagined. I ended up leaving Texas, a place I never thought I would ever leave, and moving to New York City, a place that I thought I would never learn to love. And then I moved to Portland, Oregon with a man who I never imagined would be my life partner, but somehow walked into my life and triggered an understanding for why my previous relationships failed. I did become a dermatologist and am finally in my last year of residency, though the path wasn't as I romanticized it to be. In fact, it was really rocky and full of unexpected pain points that ultimately showed me that I'm made of tougher stuff than I could have ever imagined. I have friends that redefine the meaning of friendship to me, ones who somehow support me and love me unconditionally. I often wonder what I ever did to deserve to be surrounded by such good people. I'm still learning how to navigate the politics of the working world, but every day gets a bit easier, and I've grown so much from learning how to remove my heart from my sleeve. All the most pressing questions of my 20s have been answered in the most unexpected ways, and I'm grateful for the curveballs because they've all contributed to who I am today. My natural tendency is to withdraw into my own space and to sit in my emotions and allow them to overtake me because I never want to be robbed of an authentic experience. But in the past few years, I've learned how to find an identity outside of my emotions, and that you can find authenticity outside of subjectivity. I used to allow failures to really eat at me, but I've also learned in the past few years that you must allow yourself room to falter without allowing such slips to define your journey. You're never completely lost if you can still visualize your hopes and your dreams. The trick is to ask yourself, what can I do now, in this moment, to make them happen? What active decisions can I make to consciously shape my life? For me, I learned to choose more carefully who I allowed access to my heart. I learned to find authenticity outside of my emotions. I learned to power through actionable items even when I didn't feel in the right space for it. This might not be what everyone needs. In fact, your growth might involve less action and more introspection, more room for self-reflection, or less powering through and more time to sit and understand your emotions. Everyone is different, and that's what makes the world such a beautiful and interesting place. Another important lesson I've deeply learned is that every person is operating from a completely different lens, and so it's important not only to learn about ourselves and how we can grow, but also to learn what other people value, what shapes their decisions, and to give them grace and empathy even when their decisions don't make sense to us. I learned that not everyone is going to understand me, or like me for that matter, and that's something I've had to come to terms with and accept. I learned that you can give grace and empathy without continually allowing people who hurt you to have access to your heart. I learned that sometimes you just have to let people be who they are and adjust your proximity accordingly. As I reflect on my 20s, I found that my circle has progressively gotten smaller and yet all the richer for it. My love life has become simpler and all the more stable. My heart has become more guarded, but my capacity to love has grown just by virtue of not being stretched too thin. And though I'm no longer the carefree 20-year-old I once was, I'm excited to enter into my 30s stronger, wiser, a better communicator, more secure in my worth, and more in tune with myself and my people. Hopefully, a little more financially stable too. So happy birthday, Mad. I can't wait to see you next year.